Oh, wait. Do we have music? Sorry.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, Jay, what's it?
Man, Anthony Davis is on a tear, the beard and the claw return, and Trae Young is told to stay home. I'm Rosa Panta, this is Clinic All NBA Podcast. I have the three hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Feeling good, feeling great. How about you?
I'm feeling good, man. John, how you living, my friend?
What is good? Let's get it.
And of course, Sammy, how you living, my friend?
I am good, my man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, and we're gonna talk about some basketball here. Anthony Davis and the Lakers have won 8 of their last 10, well, actually 8 of their last 11 because they lost tonight. And in those games, Anthony Davis, 35.3 points, 15.6 rebounds, 2.9 blocks. His shooting over 60% from the field and over 40% from three-point land. And now, I want to ask you guys, if you're the Lakers, and there were like rumors about possibly trading, possibly breaking this team down, what do you guys think now? Do you guys feel differently?
Well. You know how I feel. So I'm gonna let the non-Laker fans
There you go
first. So please, oblige.
This is a good question. All of a sudden, it's not 3-10 anymore. It's not. Are we giving Wembanyama away to the Pelicans? Man, gotta credit Davis. Like, I don't know exactly what he injected in himself. Some PRP or some platelet-rich HGH or whatever it is, but it's doing a fine job. He's been on a tear, man. Like, all things considered, he left tonight's game early, but hopefully he'll be all right. But right now, I think you make a trade around the edges. Maybe. I know I saw talks that they're looking at potentially using Nunn and Beverly for their salaries. I do like that idea. Beverly has been one of the worst players in the league this season. Outside of team leadership.
Wipe that smile off your face, Sammy.
It's funny. So I would go with that. I'd keep Westbrook there. And I mean, Davis for now, the only thing is if you were really going to make a bold move is do you consider selling high? But I'd be curious to see if you can actually get those French pieces and put some shooters around. So I think that's the route I go. Since we're going non-Laker fans first, JJ, what do you think?
You selling high?
Am I selling high on Anthony Davis?
Just in general, would you consider that, or what would be your direction here?
Well, it's kind of crazy, but we said in the beginning of the year that the Lakers did look really good on defense, and defense wins championships. They needed to fix on their rotation minutes, and I got to give it up to their coach, Coach Ham, since he's been working on that, and he's not playing, they're not forcing their hand on him like what they did with their previous coach and force centers to play with LeBron and Westbrook and these kind of like situations where you're not letting your coach. But I did want to bring up some cool stats about Anthony Davis, which might lead us to some conclusions on what they could do in terms of their roster. With his point total from last night, 7 points came in half-court possession on ball, meaning that he scored on the post, isolation, and pick-and-roll ball handler. Last year, he was getting criticized that he handled the ball too much, okay? He scored 7 points off of that. In transition, he scored 8, so that would be running on the fast break, filling in the lane, and so on and so forth. So a half-court off-ball, meaning that he got the ball off cuts, dump-offs, putbacks, spot-ups, or slipping from the pick-and-roll, that's where he scored 40 points. Meaning that they figured out a way where he could work well with the ball handler. And you know how Stephen Curry, he's known for his gravity? They found a way that he is the actual gravity as well, Anthony Davis, and they're now winning. So they're not over 500 yet. So the Lakers, even though they have the main component piece, which is defense, to win the championship, let's build on chemistry. So I like what you said, Sammy. Get rid of those bad contracts. Get some shooters. And I don't know if I'm still on this boat, John, but maybe get rid of Westbrook. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm not on that boat anymore. I am on the championship boat. I am pulling the flag up, dude, on there. I'm putting the anchor down. I am ready. I got my sailor's outfit and my captain's hat. That's how far I've gone here, guys.
Okay.
Where you sailing to exactly?
I am turning a full 180, and I know that I was doom and gloom before, and I'm sorry, but and maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I am going way too far over here. But you know what? I'm just gonna roll with it. If AD plays like this is the AD that we've seen, and there's an argument to be made that this is a better AD than what he was playing in New Orleans.
2017, 2016?
Yeah, or even the 2020 AD. I mean, it's a short sample size, right? This is 10, 11 games. So the big question is, can he keep it up? Obviously. The talent is there. It's the health. The health is the main concern. But JJ made a great point that they are utilizing Anthony Davis in a way that I think a lot of people were hoping for. I mean, him in the pick and roll with LeBron James. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're putting the defense off balance, and you have to make a decision there. Are you going to commit to LeBron James, or are you going to try to commit to Anthony Davis? I mean, that to me is like a complete mismatch every single time down the court. Or you can kick it out to the open shooter. I mean, even with Westbrook, he is crushing it in assists recently because he's finding the open guy, he's making the right play. And how can you not when you're playing next to guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron James? I mean, absolutely. To answer the question, the Lakers need to try to make a trade around the edges, like Sammy was saying. I think they really have something here. They figured something out. The defense was always there from the beginning of the year, but now the offense is there to match it. And maybe I am being the homer here with the purple glasses on, and I probably am. But I honestly think that this team can make some noise. I mean, you have LeBron James, he's 38, but Anthony Davis, but they can make some noise this year. And so I think they just need to add a little bit more shooting and maybe a little bit more size on the wing. But I like what I'm seeing, guys. Bro, what do you think?
Darvin Ham, good coach, man. That's all I really need to say, because I think everyone looked at this roster and said that the geometry on the court doesn't work, right? And has found a way to make it work. Winning 8 of your last 11 games, that's super impressive. That's hard to do, especially with not a lot of spacing. And like you guys said, they're probably a move or two from having a legitimate, like, well-rounded team. And they're really doing it on the defensive end as well. So I want to ask you guys, Anthony Davis is playing some ridiculous defense here. Sneaky defensive player of the year candidate? Question mark?
Definitely, because right now I don't think there's an undisputed leader in the clubhouse, which means that the hot player at the right time could easily take that award, especially if he's getting exposure. I think so.
Definitely dark horse defensive player of the year. And outside slim chance if the Lakers can get a top
Oh my goodness.
4
Here we
seed.
go.
I'm just saying, if they can get a top 4 seed,
Uh-huh.
you have to consider AD for MVP if he continues to put up similar numbers like this. I'm
And I
not saying
assume that
I'm
in
saying
that
it's a long
boat-
shot. It's a long shot.
In that boat, Westbrook would also be the sixth man of the year, and Darvin Ham would be the coach of the year. Is that correct?
Naturally, obviously, duh. Come on.
Okay, so I already know John's already sailing off somewhere where there's
I'm-
championship rings.
yeah.
I'm not sure where he's going exactly, but I want to ask you two. Do you guys think the Lakers are legitimate title contenders with what we've seen the past 11 games? JJ, what you think?
Legitimate title contenders?
Yes.
I mean, I'll just say that they haven't been successful for the last 2 seasons. But I hate. I want to give the props to the Lakers because they deserve it. It's come on, man. You got LeBron James and AD. All the past 2 losing seasons, I don't know who to put the blame. But if you have those 2 players, I guess it just proves that chemistry and defense goes a long way, and the Lakers are living proof of that, right?
So, I'm impressed. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
there's a caveat here too. The 8 wins: Brooklyn, Detroit, 3 games against the Spurs. Who plays the Spurs 3 times in a week? Your Los Angeles Lakers do, apparently. Portland, and then a very impressive win in Milwaukee, and then at Washington, who's been solid this year. So, are they a title contender yet? I can't, not without some roster movement. I will say the next 5, I think, are going to tell us a lot because they're getting a good piece of the whole league. So, the next 5 is at Toronto, at Philly, at Detroit, home Boston, home Denver. So you're getting some teams that aren't great, but then you're also getting some really high-end teams. I'm very curious to see. I mean, they proved they beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee. Not a lot of teams do that. So I
Yeah.
want to see if we get a trend like that where they beat, Boston and Toronto, then we're talking. But I think they need another move or two. I don't think as is this roster is ready yet. They still need spacing. Bad.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And we're actually going to take this to our next topic here. It's about Trae Young and Nate McMillan. Super weird reporting here. But basically, I guess Nate McMillan and Trae Young had a discussion, or something was said where Nate McMillan didn't agree with Trae Young's shoulder rehab approach. And he said, quote, "You're going to play off the bench or don't show up at all." So it was like this verbal sort of argument that they were having. And Trae Young decided not to play on Friday night. I wanted to ask you guys what your reaction here with this news between Nate McMillan and Trae Young.
It's kind of weird because if you followed the Hawks and the fan base, they're kind of split. Like 50% they're taking Trae Young's side and 50% they're taking Coach McMillan's side. So it's, when you think about the players and coaches relationship, you think about, okay, who's the ideal fit? It would be Pop and Duncan, Steph and Kerr. Doesn't seem like Trae resembles those kind of players, right? Next, you move on to players that got their coaches fired that had legitimate reason, maybe. Magic fired LMU's great coach, right? Paul Westhead, yeah. You had that incident where Magic was in the right because it proved that he won the championship. LeBron and David Blatt got fired. LeBron won the championship. So can Trae Young do that, or does he have the equity to do that? Let's think about that, okay? Or is he like the Warriors a while back where they chose the coach over the player, where, in that case would be Don Nelson over Chris Webber. Fellas, the way that I'm reading the room is that I don't think the Hawks would ever give up Trae Young, right? He doesn't resemble a Magic. He doesn't resemble a Tim Duncan. But will they pull what they pulled with Chris Webber? Probably not.
This left such a bad taste in my mouth, this whole thing. And
Yeah.
let me kind of shoot a response question to you on that. Of all the players that we would define as faces of the franchise right now in the league, this is a question for everybody. Is there one that you would want less than Trae Young right now, of the players you could think of as the face of your franchise?
Kyrie.
Is he really the face of the franchise though? Because it's KD, unless he's the face of. Never mind, I don't want to go there.
No. Yeah. I see your point though.
But is there like, this is an honest question? It's not rhetorical. Is there a player that's considered the face of the franchise, not someone who just happens to be the best player on a bad team? I can't think of one.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through them like in my head right now. I can't think of a single person because we got like Ja Morant, we got Steph
James
Curry. Well,
I would say Embiid is the face of the
Embiid,
franchise
yeah.
in Philly, though.
Embiid's the dude.
So that's the thing. That's where I struggle here is just, I agree with you, Jay. I don't think they would pick McMillan over him, and I don't necessarily know if they should, because McMillan seems like a solid coach, but he doesn't seem elite by any means.
Yeah.
But just the way that Trae carries himself, and I know that there was an article I think posted in The Athletic recently saying
Sam
that
Amick.
they aren't happy with how he carries himself, and I completely agree with that. And this doesn't help, man. Like, just come off the bench. Don't make a story out of it, because what's the message it communicates to your teammates and the fan base if you're saying, if I'm not playing the way I want to, if I'm not starting, I'm not going to play at all? That says you're in it for yourself, as far as I'm concerned. It's such a bad look, and with this team, they clearly, mistakenly, or, well, call it what you want, but they think that they're a top-end team. Otherwise, they would not have sold off everything they did to get Murray. So I can't stand the look of this. I completely disagree with Trae Young's choice of action, but am I being too harsh, John?
I don't. I was a big Trae supporter. I actually like his game a lot. He's a volume shooter, and he puts up a lot of shots to get his points. I think he's averaging 28 a game and 10 assists, which are great numbers, but then you have to look that he's shooting 40% from the field. So in a way, I kind of agree with you. I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. And I know that sounds... What I mean by that is Trae... Like, is this going to be a problem? Because a reoccurring problem, I should say. Because when you have someone who has behavioral issues, a lot of the times it doesn't happen just once. I mean, ask JJ and Roe. They love Draymond Green, so they know what, behaviorally. If you have an issue, it's going to come up and up again. But if you know how to deal with it, if you can deal with it, if he's still an asset on the court, if it doesn't affect the game and they're still winning, then maybe this is all just water under the bridge. It doesn't really matter. But like Sammy said, the Hawks aren't exactly a championship team like the Warriors, right? They haven't proven anything. They haven't won the championships. So it's a lot easier for someone like Draymond Green to get away with the stuff that he gets away with. Now, I don't think that same privilege or that same leniency should be attributed to Trae here. So I agree with you guys. I think Nate McMillan is in the right, but we'll see if this kind of behavior continues.
Yeah, I don't know what side I'm on, really, just because I don't think I have enough details. But what I do know is that apparently The Athletic has said that there has been various other conflicts like throughout this season between Trae Young and Nate McMillan. So that's not really a good sign. I kind of wanted to say that I don't really like what's going on with Trae Young and the Hawks lately anyway. Like, I don't like the showboating that's going on. I don't like the conflict that's going on internally. I don't really like even the addition of DeJounte Murray and that kind of like showboating duo that they have now. Are they becoming one of the most disliked teams in the NBA right now? What do you guys think?
Sammy said that last week, man. He's like, I don't like what's going on, and I agreed with him.
Yeah.
Nate McMillan, guys, his career record as an NBA coach to defend, I guess, the Hawks players, or Trae Young in this case, is he's sitting a little bit above 500, which is not really good, right? He's
Right.
been in the league for a very long time, and he doesn't have many winning records, number one. But number two, like, if I'm gonna argue against Trae Young, he is not getting enough blame for how poorly he played last year and all that smack that he was talking. He did not back up his play one bit, and I'm surprised that no one has called him out on it. Is that facts or what, Sammy? John?
I think so in a sense, and I think part of it is just the highlight age we're in. The guy makes a good highlight.
Yeah.
It's easy to put his stuff on quick YouTube clip on SportsCenter for people who still, watch a sports-based show for like the quick highlight package, things like that. But I'm with you on that, and I'm not a huge fan of the showboating in general. Like, there's a showmanship that certain players had. Michael Jordan has it, LeBron has it, Steph has it more so than most of the modern NBA. And then there's showboating to me, where it's like making a point to, show yourself off, whether it's earned or not. And I feel like Murray and Young especially fall into that, and that's why it comes off so poorly as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That's it.
No, it comes off poorly because we have to look at Trae Young's hair. I mean, like, tell me I'm wrong, right? It's okay. And I know we're gonna jump to the next topic, but the reality is that there are a lot of guys in the NBA, right, that showboat and talk smack like Trae. I think if we look at it objectively, there are guys who are on the same level. But we look at them differently because of their personas and the way that they're something. I don't want to say their physical appearance, but their reputation. And so I think if we're being objective, I think that's the truth. But that's just my opinion. We can move on.
I'm going to take us to our next topic here. James Harden came back. John's early MVP pick this year.
Oh, you did.
Apparently,
you went there, didn't you?
I did go there. It's okay. You can defend it later. He came back, and apparently he did not make a single 2-point shot. He was 0 for 8, 4 of 19 overall. And apparently Doc Rivers said, yeah, James Harden is going to be on a minutes restriction tonight. He played 38 minutes. This is kind of weird. I want to ask you guys a couple things, okay? First, Doc Rivers, what the heck is he doing?
Been asking that question for 10 years. Go ahead.
2 is, are we worried about James Harden? What do you guys think?
We're worried about James
okay.
Harden?
Okay.
Yeah, of course
You
we
want to
are.
start with me?
John, talk about the
picked him
MVP
for
campaign. How's
Yeah.
he coming back?
First of all, okay, in my defense, he was putting up MVP numbers before he got injured.
He was.
I mean, granted it was like 3 games, but still, right? It looked promising, albeit a short stint. So should we be worried? Bro's question: should we be worried about James Harden, who did not make a single 2-point shot, 0 for 8? And I didn't see the game. I didn't see the highlights, lowlights, I guess we could say. And I don't know how many of these were layups, what are like little floaters, which he likes to do. But 4 for 19 is pretty bad. And playing 38 minutes as a minute restriction. So Doc Rivers, I don't like. Does he know what the word restriction means, or is he thinking of a different word? Because 38 minutes out of 48 in an NBA game is not really restricting your minutes here. Just to be blunt. So yeah, I think I'm a little concerned about the Sixers, not just Harden, but the Sixers in general. Their coaching was always sketchy, and I think we all know why. I mean, Doc Rivers, his reputation precedes him, and other than that Boston championship where he had 4 Hall of Famers, 3 Hall of Famers, arguably 4 with Rondo, that, he hasn't done much. You have Embiid, right, who's obviously the star of the team, but can you trust Tobias Harris? Can you trust James Harden in crucial moments? Can you trust Doc Rivers? And my answer to all 3 of those is the same one that I tell a lot of people when they ask me to go out on the weekends, because I'm old now. It's no. No.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say maybe.
No. Well, do I say maybe sometimes? I say no usually. Only my once a year outing. But do you guys agree with that? I mean, JJ, am I just like slandering the Sixers inexplicably? But I feel like I have a point here. What do you think?
No, you have a great point. It doesn't help that when you have your ball handler, he's 0 for 8, but then he's also shooting 4 for 19. James Harden, if you are 0 for 8, what's the rule, guys? June, what's the rule? If you can't get going with your flow, what do you do as a shooter or scorer?
You get to the line.
You get to the line. And what happened last year, gentlemen? What changed?
Oh, he just stopped shooting, or he stopped driving.
No,
You're talking about the rule change.
Yeah, they stopped calling the ticky-tack fouls.
It's the rule change. So, I mean, one, he's getting older. Two, he has this hamstring injury that plagued him last year with the Nets. So this is a reoccurring issue. And then three, it's like, has he really adapted with the rule change? You have all these crazy superstars adapting to it. I'm gonna say that he hasn't fully adapted to the game yet. And I remember, frankly, you three saying that's gonna be a level of concern for last year's playoff run and this year's, string of games if Harden could actually adapt to the new rules. And I haven't seen that. So, to answer your question, John, your feedback on the Sixers, I would say, is definitely spot on. Like, Sammy, is that assessment right on as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's just something off about this team in terms of the chemistry, in terms of the roster construction, coaching, although we've talked about that probably ad nauseum at this point.
Yeah.
But you look at just the players on this team, and in certain ways it felt like they should flow together a little bit, but Tobias is just not fitting on this team. He's obviously paid far too much for what he's doing, but once they made that trade, they locked themselves into that contract and they knew they were going to max him. But then I look at like the PJ Tucker signing, and I get that PJ Tucker's not there for scoring and he's not necessarily there purely for statistics, but if you're paying a guy $10 million a year, he can't start and average 3.5 points a game. He just
Patrick
can't.
Beverly.
Yeah.
Bingo. And they started winning when he stopped starting. but yeah, like you look at the game we're talking about, went to double overtime. In 42 minutes, he had 3 points and 6 rebounds. Like I said, he's not there necessarily to score, but the contracts on this team and the roster construction combined with the coaching, this team is desperate to make a move. They've got to do something. They've got to add some athleticism. I know Maxey is out, and that'll help when he's back, but it just feels off. This team feels like it's missing something, or who knows, maybe a coaching change will give them an infusion of a different direction that they need. But between the age of Harden and Tucker and some of these pieces, and then the injury history, I don't know. I don't see this getting that much better than it is right now, barring a massive roster change or a coaching change.
Absolutely agree with you three. We're actually going to take a short break with a word from our sponsor.
The NBA season is heating up and there are still so many unknowns. When I'm looking to get in on the action, I bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do.
Download the app now, sign up with code TBPN, place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code TBPN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
All right, we're going to take it to our next topic here. We're going to talk about the LA Clippers. And they don't only get Paul George back, they also get Kawhi Leonard back. And in this game against Charlotte, he knocks down a step back mid-range jumper with 1.4 seconds remaining on the clock. Kawhi Leonard does, that is, in a game winner. I want to ask you guys, now that we've seen Kawhi back, Paul George back, what's your general feel of the Clippers? Are you guys feeling more optimistic? Are we back to being like they're gonna be the shoe-in for the Western Conference? How do you feel? Sammy, don't jump up and down too much.
I will defer the way John did on the Lakers topic and let my fine co-host start this one.
Oh yes. Thank you so much. I've been clamoring for this. I was waiting, salivating. No, so I feel like Sammy feels this way because he did say something before we even started recording. Is that he woke up, and this is the sentiment that I feel. If I'm being completely fair, objective, is that Sammy woke up to check. So Kawhi Leonard hit the game winner last night, right? He woke up this morning to check the news to see if Kawhi Leonard had any ailment, injury, if he has knee inflammation, or if there were reports of him sitting out or having to ice his knees on the airplane or whatever it may be. And that's the sentiment that I have around this team is that, and I know because I'm a Laker fan. So AD, LeBron, they've had injuries the last few years. It's like that. And it's not really a good reassuring feeling because you're instead of enjoying a win, you're thinking about the future games because, naturally the outlook is the end of the season, the championship aspirations, the goals, the ultimate goal that every fan of their team has. And the reality is that Kawhi Leonard when he plays, he's a pleasure to watch. He is one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy. The same thing you say about AD, right? But these days, it's very seldom that he's consistently healthy. Mm-hmm. And it's sad to see. And we were talking about this offline is that I think we're starting to think that he has a degenerative, and I don't know if it's been reported on that, but a knee issue that's just not going to get better. It's something that he's going to have to deal with however long he plays, and he's going to have to manage it. And it's sad to think about because he's such a great player. He's such a great talent. He seems like a great guy. He's a fun guy. He has one of the worst laughs probably I've ever heard in my entire life, but the guy can ball. I love Kawhi Leonard. There we go. Thank you. I think people forgot. So like JJ, do you have that same feeling? Do you like, and listen, I'm not a Clipper hater by any means, but I am concerned about the team because I don't know if they can stay healthy. I hope they can, but I don't know if they can. JJ, what do you think?
No, I agree with you, man, and I kind of feel Sammy's pain as a Niner fan. It's like, is it an even year or is it an odd year? Because if it's an even year, there's a probability that Jimmy G might get injured. And lo and behold, Jimmy G's, one of his most efficient years in his career.
Oh, man.
He gets injured. But, like what you said, John, you don't want to see these superstars not play AD and Kawhi. And Kawhi is one of the very, very, very rare NBA superstars. Yes, superstars that could take over a game defensively, 1 through 5. Control the game, the tempo through defense, which is really, really difficult to do in a game. And we'll see. As Sammy is the Clipper homer, he always says and warns and says with caution, if they could just stay healthy, and I know that should be always a given, right? When people say well, if it's a contingent on being healthy, that's for every single team, but for the Clippers, that just seems like the mantra, especially with Kawhi.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this team is like the opposite of Atlanta, because obviously I watch them very closely. They like each other, they get along. Ty Lue, as I think we would all agree, is a top 5 head coach in the game. Just a tremendous strategist. All the pieces on this team look so good when they're together, and they're legit 12 deep. And the nice thing is right now, it doesn't seem like Covington gets a lot of DNPs during the season. No one seems to complain. Everyone likes to roll. Maybe it's because he makes $11 million and doesn't have to play half the time, but
what a hard life. What a hard life.
They all legitimately seem to get along, and it's a credit to this team that Powell's missed a few games. Kennard also came back last night. He was out 6 games. no one outside of, I think, Jackson and Batum has played every game, and they're still the 5 or 6 seed. I mean, that's a credit to how deep they are and how well coached they are. So going along what you said, Jade, it's about health. I think this team needs about 20 solid games where the bulk of them are together, minus Wall and Kawhi not playing back-to-backs, just to actually figure out what is our 5-man unit, what's our 9-man rotation look like. If they can establish that and go into the playoffs healthy, I have no doubt they can beat anybody. But do I actually think they're going to go into the playoffs healthy? Honestly, I have to be pessimistic. I'd say less than 50% chance because we have to go on prior history as a driver. And Kawhi misses all this time, and I legitimately think now he's not sandbagging anything. I really do think that he does have a degenerative condition as just being ultra cautious. But in addition to that, I love what PG's become for the Clippers. He misses a lot of time too, and it's not talked about that much.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. How old is PG?
they're both, he's 32 and Kawhi's 31. And that's the kind of the underbelly of this team that people don't talk about a lot, is there's a lot of guys in their 20s, but PG's 32, Kawhi's 31, Reggie's 32, Morris is 33, Batum's 33. Like, this team's not young. They've got maybe a 2-year window if everyone stays healthy.
And even like a 31 Kawhi, but with his injuries, he's not like he's like a He's like a healthy 34, 35-year-old.
Yeah, and with him it's interesting too though, because I think when he plays, I know the numbers haven't been there this year, obviously because of all the minute restrictions and stuff. But actually watching him on the eye test, he looks like himself. He's getting to his spots, he's confident. I have no doubt about that. So I actually think when he plays, he'll be fine. I don't think we're going to see necessarily a decrease in his performance. It's just physically, is he going to be out there or not? And so the main thing is you look at the way the playoff schedule is, and it's every other day, and it turns into a grind when you get into the second round, the third round. So if they get that far, can he be relied on that he is going to feel good, that knee's not going to stiffen up? If he does, I have no doubt, especially with the way the West played out this year, that they can at least get to the finals. But we got to see it, man. I mean,
Kawhi for Embiid, would you do it?
This is me being a homer, but no, because Embiid's got his own degen conditions too, in his knee. So
Kawhi
I would think about it. I would really think about it though.
Sammy, Kawhi for AD, would you do it?
Oh no, neither of them play.
I would do Kawhi for Embiid, and
I wouldn't fault it. If you said you would, I would not fault that in the slightest. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and like I said, I'm purely saying, and I'll say this for all the listeners now, I'm being a homer by saying no, and I know I'm being a homer.
My biggest reason why is that I truly sorry Sammy, I'm gonna kind of drop a bombshell on you. I really think this is Kawhi's last year to get a championship ring before things go really downhill for him. Like, I don't like the way his recovery is happening at all. I don't know. That's just a general feeling that I get. I know when he hits the floor, he does things like shoot game winners and is still like a sniper from the mid-range, which you don't see anymore. You don't see superstars perfect the mid-range game outside of who? Like DeMar DeRozan, maybe? Might be the next person.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
But everything is either inside or outside, and Kawhi Leonard is the person that does that. But Joel Embiid, I feel like, would have more legs to at least play for the next 5 or 6 years, so to speak. Legs.
You're right on that. Like, objectively, that's a trade you make 10 times out of 10. It just is because of availability.
No, you can't listen.
We can't.
No. I'm gonna say we cannot pair. Kawhi's a good guy. You cannot get him back on the bus with Doc Rivers.
That's a great point. Okay, I appreciate
that's not okay, guys.
I appreciate that.
That is not okay.
Funny, man. You look at the rest of the team, like, they even draft well only with second round picks. They've got a bunch of guys on the roster that are contributors. They were all twos because they traded all the ones away. I mean, I would be curious to see, and obviously I'm not hoping for this, but if it turns out that knee is shot and they need to make a move, with all the resources this front office has, with Ballmer behind them, what would they do? I would be very curious to see how they would pivot, because Ballmer's not going to tank, man. It's not. You can tell it's not in his DNA. So, I'd be very curious to see that step. But obviously, knock on wood, he's back. Let's hope he's actually fully healthy this time. And I don't care if he skips back-to-backs. I don't care if he plays 35 games total in the regular season if he's healthy in April through June.
Yeah, only time will tell for the Los Angeles Clippers, who are sitting at the 6th seed right now. But that is all that we have for today. I want to thank you three for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all.
John, thanks for being on.
Hey, thank you. Have a good night.
Sammy, thanks for being on, man.
Thank you as always. Appreciate it.
And shout out to our video producer, RJ. Check out our YouTube channel. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, the Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panta. This is Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.